Welcome back, everybody. I'm Chad. This is Carter Engineering and Fabrication. Week 11 of 2025 of me bringing you guys along every week for my adventures, for lack of a better term. This week was the thumbnail. Should have given it away a little bit. I got a little dirty. So follow along and let's see how much rust we knocked out of the vintage Pontiac this week. So jumping right into it this week, I am starting at the rear of the 1964 Bonneville. My goal this week was to get the core support removed and start assessing the damage with the battery tray where the battery had leaked battery acid. So naturally, it makes perfect sense that I'm starting on the rear axle. My brain wasn't thinking this one through completely, but what I wanted to do was get the rear axle and the gas tank removed, start assessing some of the rust on the rear part of the frame, the general condition of things as is kind of expected with salt spray and general driving down the road debris. The farther you get towards the rear of the vehicle, the worse things get. So I wanted to tackle the difficult stuff and get the axle broke loose. Pop the center section out, see what the gearing looked like, and just kind of start at where I assumed I would have the hardest time. The engine, thankfully, oil soaked the front pretty well, so next week I'm hoping to get back to that and get back to my original plan. I'm poking a little bit of fun at myself here, but really just wanted to make some headway in terms of getting these components removed, and so I could start, ordering fasteners and figuring out what I want to do in terms of coating the frame, whether it's like a rust converter or like a POR 15 or something like that. But zipping right along here, surprisingly everything came out pretty well. I had a couple bolts that fought me, mostly on the coil spring retainers, I guess. It's really interesting to me that the Cutlass sitting behind it's 6 years newer. And has a lot less intricacies in terms of the retainers for the coil springs. This car had bolted retainers with rubber isolators. The Cutlass is just steel on steel on steel. I think that speaks a little bit to the luxury that they were going for with this Bonneville in terms of noise isolation and honestly, it's just better constructed. It really surprised me getting into it. All the bolts are fine thread. It's a really well-built car. And you see the one bolt here, I had to break out the smoke wrench to try and get loose. It's a little nerve-wracking, but I was very careful. Fire extinguisher nearby. Monitored for smoke afterwards for a long time. My luck, I ran out of oxygen after cutting through the first bolt and got the tank loaded in the truck so I can get that refilled this week. But everything else, that was the one bolt that really fought me. I ended up having to drill out the upper shock bolts, which I think they'd been replaced. I don't believe they were OEM shocks. And the bolts, the nuts actually completely rounded off. Ended up drilling those out on the driver's side. Not the end of the world, not a big deal. Starting to look pretty bare under here. There I am. It worked out really strangely where on the passenger side, I could use my little battery powered die grinder and I could reach in and cut the heads of the bolts off. It just wasn't able to do that. It's a one-sided tool and I couldn't get the blade into the bolts on the driver's side. So here I am drilling with like a 3/16 drill bit. I sharpened it 3 or 4 times in a row just to get it to get through the bolts, and then ended up knocking the heads off with a chisel. This piece right now that's coming off is the auxiliary electric fuel pump that was added sometime later. Not sure if it had any issues. I'm going to talk to the owner about this and just see if she recalls anything. But anyway, getting all that taken out and then bringing back my favorite tool, the needle scaler, and just knocking off some of the, a lot of the rust scale and build up. There's me looking all happy. I was at least smart enough to put on my respirator and double ear protection to go at this. Just trying to get a good vantage point and then back at it, just scaling over all of the frame section. You can see the dust and the dirt that's just being completely just shook up, really. And then I did go over a little bit of the floor pans just to kind of assess how bad they are. It's mostly where there are 2 layers that they've rusted a little bit. Nothing too concerning. Just trying to get a handle on it, knock the loose stuff off, and get a better assessment of what's going on. Really, for being a 1964, it's in incredibly great shape. And this is me doing the 50X cleanup. I really like these. It's pretty satisfying. So now we're outside. The brake backing plates, bringing those out now, and again, same thing, just roughing over with a needle scaler to get the big loose bits off, and knock the dust buildup. I think I'm going to end up blasting these and then either painting them or powder coating them. I haven't honestly decided yet, but they cleaned up really nice, no major pitting. Here I am pulling out the emergency brake cables. I learned my lesson. The impact broke the first 2 bolts off. After that, I wiggled them loose, running them in and out with a ratchet by hand. Just that 3/8 DeWalt impact has a surprising amount of power, and it just snapped the bolts right off. So into the parts washer, trying to get the loose stuff, just to build up a brake dust. And these cleaned up really nice. It'll take very minimal blasting to get them to white metal, and probably end up powder coating them just to have a clean starting point. In a second, you'll start to see the brake hardware show up. I ordered complete replacement brake hardware kits, and they're pretty inexpensive, but they're on back order what seems like forever. So as I was saying, we've got the brake hardware cleaned up, and most of it actually cleaned up pretty well. From the parts washer here, we're going into the ultrasonic cleaner with some simple green. Through the power of magic, I'm going to show going in, and then in just a moment we'll pop them back out. And yeah, you can see how much stuff was just stirred up off of those parts. This was maybe 2 hours of time at 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So most of the parts cleaned up pretty well. I think I did one more round after this. But all the parts are salvageable, and all the adjusters freed up nicely. So get everything cleaned up one final time, and then I'm missing a few small components, but I think I was able to locate those through Dorman. So be ready to start reassembling the front and rear drum brakes pretty soon. Switching gears slightly, getting the camera set up now. So I mentioned those bolts that I broke off with the DeWalt impact. This was a good chance for me to play with the new Aaron at 6061.com slide lever control for the TIG torch. I'm a huge fan of TIG buttons or TIG slide controls on torches as opposed to a foot pedal. I learned on a simple on-off switch from a very inexpensive Chinese welder, and it took a long time to get adapted to a foot pedal. I don't mind it. I have a wireless one at work, but so much out of position, not bench welding that I do, I really like the fingertip control, and this is a nice solution. So we're getting the bolts out. This took a few tries, but eventually they all did come out. Ended up hitting them with some blaster and gently nudging them out. So after all the tries of getting those broken studs out and me looking all grumpy just now, I have a couple parts that do need actually welded for real. So this was a good chance to really get a little better acclimated. This is running 140 amps, On the top end, I think I have I forget what the pulse is, something around like 50 hertz and 75% background current. The numbers don't matter that much. This is eighth wall, mild steel, and then just pulse welding some caps on with 1/16 ER70S2 filler. I really like the slide control. I can keep both feet planted on the floor, which just helps me feel a little bit more stable. So all told, I am super happy with the slide control. A lot of the times at this machine at home, I use just the on-off control and dial the amperage in between, stitch welds or what have you. So money well spent to me. I very infrequently don't think I will be using the foot pedal much more after having this set up. So yeah, highly recommend. And this is just a quick walk around. I've got my magnetic camera base and little improvised TIG hook, the new Pyrex lid, and then here's me just showing the slide control. So something that just dropped that I'm really excited about is the Send Cut Send marketplace, and I'm the biggest cheerleader for Send Cut Send. So seeing them bring something like this to market where people can upload their designs and then sell through them, direct ship to the customer. Super cool. I'm going to try and upload some of my things, but I think this is just a really amazing thing to offer to the community. So I tried to rush the intro a little bit just to get right into the action, but for the 30% of you that are still here, now I can ramble a little bit more without feeling quite so rushed. So pretty good week. Honestly, really enjoyed tearing into the Bonneville. I've been putting it off because of cold weather, but we had a freakishly warm day on Friday, and it was nice to open the doors up and get some good work done on the disassembly. I need to get my big air compressor hooked up so I could start on sandblasting, and then just continue pressing on that, and then hopefully bounce back and forth between that and the Buick a little bit. The Send Cut Send marketplace, I'm really excited to knock the dust off of some of my past designs and put them out there for hopefully for people to use and enjoy. We'll see as time goes on. And I think that's probably enough for this week. So again, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Drop a comment, let me know what you liked or didn't like, or something you want to see more of. I tried to cut these videos down to keep them pretty short and watchable. If my attention span can make it through the whole video, then hopefully you guys can too. So thanks. See you guys next week.